And the speaker for this topic is Professor Dr. Deepak Jumani. May I request Professor Dr. Deepak Jumani to please come on stage. Professor Dr. Deepak Jumani dons varied caps. Basically, Professor Dr. Deepak Jumani is a consultant, sexual health physician and counselor. He is a consultant to the Mumbai police. He is a diplomat of the American Board of Clinical Sexology. He is a fellow of Indian Academy of Medical Specialties. He is an ex-clinical associate of the Department of Sexual Health Medicine at the KM Hospital, Mumbai. Besides, Dr. Deepak is the president of the Indian Association of Sexology, the Mumbai chapter. Dr. Deepak is the editor of the International Journal of Psychology. Dr. Deepak is the editor of Mahima, which is Maharashtra State Indian Medical Association, and also the president of the Society of Preservation of Medical Ethics. More information about Dr. Deepak as well as his activities can be found on www.mybestdoctor.net. Over to Professor Dr. Deepak Jumani for the post-lunch session.
Thank you, dear, for that sexy introduction. At the outset, I thank Satya for giving me an opportunity to stand in front of you and share my views, concepts, thoughts, and passion. We are today in a sex-saturated society. We are exposed to so much of erotic material, be it billboards, movies, internet, newspapers, televisions. We are also staying in an era where sexual harassments, rapes, gang rapes, assaults are increasing. We are also staying in an era where we find in our clinics males and females coming with sexual dysfunctions. We are also finding a lot of people involved in extramarital affairs, infidelity, etc. We are also now very much concerned about our adolescents and teens involved in getting unintended pregnancies, spread of HIV, STIs, etc. Why is all this? And who's responsible for all this? Is it the culture? Is it the genetic? Is it the... Whatever is the reason, why this is happening to our civilization today? In this next 25-30 minutes, I would like to give you some potent insights into what is the cause of all this, what is sex, why our culture is such, and why humans are getting drifted. I am not from Congress, neither I am from BJP or Shiv Sena. I do not have any stakes in IPL. I am not a follower of Asharam Bapu. And I am an Indian Medical Associationite, and I have come here to ignite intimacy. I ask this august audience, what urges make men chase women they have no intentions of marrying? It's the same urge that makes dogs chase vehicles they have no intentions of driving. Love is a matter of chemistry, and sex is a matter of physics. Men and women are two halves of humanity. He is inside she, man inside woman, lad inside lady, male inside female, Adam inside madam, Mr. inside Mrs. The point here is, whether the problem is between the man or a woman or either of them, the solution always is in the couple. There is no age for sex. From 9 years to 90 years, a man can have sex. And there is no time. It can be early morning, afternoon, late night. And friends, let me tell you, sex has no expiry date. Rishi Vatsyayana in Kama Sutra clearly mentions sex is to be used and not abused. intimacy is ageless, and now we know to integrate or to get optimum sexual pleasure, you need to integrate mind and body strategies. American Heart Association and American Urologists Association have now recommended as the best sex as the best prescription for good health because it improves cardiovascular system, respiratory system, immune system, etc. And it is also said, use it or lose it. Our strongest need, friends, is pleasure. And the power to give pleasure is the greatest power we all have. Let it be helping someone with food, money, etc., or giving an orgasm. It's a force that excites our bodies. It's present in all of us since birth. It touches our souls. In its expression, we come to know where we come from and see where we go. To acknowledge it or not is a defining question. And how do we manage it determines our values in lives. It connects our deepest selves with the world outside. Sex is a long subject. When nature and cultures collide, can we navigate through the mysteries of sex? Or can we develop a logic to this intense force of desire? Or can we develop a sexual intelligence which deepens our pleasures and increases the awareness of our own bodies? The whole puzzling thing about the human desire is that men and women tend to experience it differently. Sex wasn't God's mistake. Judging against it is humanity's biggest mistake. Pleasure is as divine as any cathedral, temple, church, or a pilgrim. And it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. Gina Ogden and Betty Dodson, the two famous sex therapists around the world, they said any unmet desired or stored feelings can manifest or morph as symptoms of many diseases. How do we learn from sex? Do we have a proper roadmap? Are these books or aphorisms of love like Kama Sutra, Ananga Raga, Tao, Perfumed Gardens, Shiastu, or Tantra teach us anything? Have we all gone through it? Have we understood all these things? No. Today's scenario is like this. Working wife, husbands always felt ignored. Working husbands, wives felt ignored. In this high-tech era of communication, there is no communication in the bedroom. There is quarrel. There is no sex. And who ruins our sex life on daily basis is Ekta Kapoor and her serials. And the major culprit of inactivity of ours is the television today, the social media. We all are aware of what's happening in offices today. There is stalking, sexual harassment, molestations at work. And why? What constitutes this? It's offering benefits for a sexual favor or threats for retaliation to say no. Our leaders, whom we think are role models, are practicing infidelity. The rich and the famous always did that. And who cheats whom? Men cheat for sexual reasons and women cheat for emotional reasons. This is a very bad emotional roller coaster. This needs to be stopped. We have to take a decision whether we want to be monogamous or we want to have extramarital affairs. It's a choice we have. And saints whom we see today are no less than taints. Most of the sadhus we are now aware of what they do. Pedophilia is common, rape, gang rapes. Rapes in India, one woman is raped every 30 seconds. Married women found beaten to death, burnt or driven to suicide every 6 hours today. Sexual assaults. And the prevalence is too much. 60% still are being unreported. Males are the least likely to report a sexual assault, though they make up about 20% of the victims. Approximately 2/3 of the rapes were committed by someone who was known to them. 73% of sexual assaults were perpetrated by non-strangers. 35% of the world's women will still experience physical and sexual violence. And what happens to these survivors? They get depression, they get post-traumatic stress disorders, they about to alcohol, they take drugs, or some commit suicide. This is a huge problem. It's a public health problem, it's a violation of human rights, and it's a profound traumatic personal experience to the victim. It doesn't affect just the individual, it affects his relationship, it affects the community, and it affects the whole society. Rape is never the victim's fault. Rape is an act of violence and aggression and is usually about power and control over another person, and they use sex as a weapon. Sometimes people make poor safety choices. That does not give someone else to the right to hurt him. Violence is always a choice we have. And the symptoms of survivors are immense. Some of them cannot be repaired even after a long counseling or therapies with them. It's either the anger, power, influence of drugs, alcohol, or sadism. Regardless of what the situation and substance use, no one deserves to be raped. And all these things give us an information or input that there is total, absolute, persistent disregard towards women's freedom, right, and feminism. The famous neuropsychologist James Prescott, he studied 44 cultures across the globe, and he found out that the difference between violence and pleasure is that it has got a reciprocal relationship. So if you want to decrease the violence in your life, you have to increase the pleasures of your life. Violence today, friends, is a complex problem which no simple biological approach can diagnose or cure. Factors such as political instability, population density, influence of alcohol, drugs, psychosocial instability, and income inequality are associated with massive differences in violence across cultures. Steven Pinker wrote beautifully that we humans are blank slates on which our culture and education draws our character, whether it is good or evil. Our nature is more the product of our culture than our biology. That way of putting it assumes a simplistic nature and nurture dichotomy. When anyone asserts to sexual coercion, harassment, or even rape, at least in part driven by biological priorities, so we assume, they are wrong. And no one can use biology and evolution as an excuse of being a jerk. That does not mean that such a behavior is not an ongoing reality. It just means that it is a reality that we can alter. Most men aren't sexual predators, but we need to be more active once someone is, especially with regard to sexual harassment, coercion, and assault on women. Society needs to own up the fact that sexual aggression is not inevitable, but it is predictable, explicable, and in most cases, avoidable. The biggest burning issue today we face is unintended pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, HIV, and the perils of pornography. 16 million today in India, adolescent girls between 15 and 19 have become mothers without getting married. Adolescent pregnancies are most common among poor and less educated. Despite progress, adolescent pregnancy continues to increase. It has got dire consequences. WHO came out with some guidelines and information. They came out with 6 outcomes that one has to reduce the marriage age before the age of 18. They should not get married below the age of 16. We should create an understanding and support to reduce pregnancy before the age of 20 years. We should increase the use of contraception. We should reduce coerced sex. We should reduce unsafe abortion. We should increase the use of skilled antenatal, childbirth, and postpartum care. Educated and empowered women and girls can make informed decisions about their own health. When girls are educated, healthy, and can avoid child marriages, unintended pregnancy, and HIV, they can contribute fully to their society's battle against poverty. What is sex education? This is the finest thing which we have to understand. We need sex education in sexual sciences to eradicate the damaging superstitious myths and misinformations. We need sex education in sexual arts to improve our erotic lives and keep our families intact. We need sex education in sexual psychology and philosophy to determine our true sexual nature and to cultivate the same in a fulfilling and a healthy manner. The need of the hour is to help our young adults make healthy decisions in their life. And we need trainings to be given to all the healthcare providers, teachers, parents. We need good strategies for training, institutionalization of the training, and sustainable training. The youth tells us that they want information on reproductive health and sexual education, preferably from their parents. They want this information early and in the form of appropriate to their psychological and physical understanding and development. They want accurate information so that they can empower themselves to make choices and take responsibility for their choices. How do we feel that the sex education is effective? No evidence shows that abstinence without contraceptive education effectively protects